Hey guys, Scott Butler from Edge Financial Services. I hope you're all well. We're going for a morning walk. Where are we? We're in Merida on the north side. We're in KA 21. It's about 30 degrees, 8:30 in the morning. So yeah, just thought we'd go for a bit of a stroll in the neighbourhood where I've parked for a couple of weeks. It's pretty nice to be in a standard neighbourhood instead of hotels. I got sick of hotel pretty quick. Just over in Mexico, looking at some investments, believe it or not. Investments, and also the reality of how you retire, getting close to retirement age in a different country. What does it cost? Is it really cheaper? What are you going to give up? What are you going to gain? A lot of different things. But anyway, look, today I wanted to quick talk about something that just sort of irks me a little bit, and I see some real dangers for Australian companies, but also Australian employees. The general public. We've got a bit of a few issues coming up. So now this isn't a bleat. I'm not complaining about how I've been treated by one of my banks, but I think it's a good example of some of the issues that we're going to have coming down the pipeline. And what does that mean for us as consumers, citizens, investors? I don't know yet, but things need to be taken into account, right? So I've got a transaction in my self-managed super fund, which no one understands what it really is. We don't really know. It's money. It's a small amount of money that's been dropped into my account, but things like that, you need to be noted. The accountant needs to understand what it is. If the accountant can't note what it is, then he can't do the tax return. If you can't do the tax return, eventually your self-managed super fund becomes non-compliant. So, kind of important. If I want to keep dropping money into my superannuation fund, which I do, I need to find out what this transaction is. So, it looks pretty simple, and I've been emailing Macquarie. Macquarie Bank has the transaction account. I've been emailing Macquarie for, I don't know, a couple of months. What is this? What is this? Can you help me? Eventually they sent back some information on the wrong transaction. So I don't know, after a while I've gone, right, I got to call these guys. After being on hold for about 10 minutes, I reckon that's quick in this day and age. Talked to a lady. After I spent 5 minutes identifying myself, she said, yep, I can see this is the transaction you want. I can see, yep. All right, let's put through a manual transaction trace request. Let's find out what that is. We can do that. And so I'm like, cool, finally, I'll be able to get my 2021 tax return done, even though it's up to 2022 timeframe. And I said, look, she said, look, here's your reference number, in case you need to call up and see what's going on. I'm like, I shouldn't need to do that. You're on top of this. You understand what it is. That's good. How long is it going to be? She said 8 weeks. So for all of our data and all the technology, they could do it in 60 seconds, actually. But it's going to take 8 weeks. 8 weeks. Kind of believer. It's gone into a queue. And what this is showing me is showing me the dire state that the companies that run in Australia actually are due to lack of workforce. It doesn't take 8 weeks to log in and trace what a transaction is. If you've got to get authorities from a third-party company to say, did you put money in here? That might take a couple of days. Let's say a week at best. So 8 weeks. And this is the experience that we're having with all lenders when we're doing finance for borrowing money or refinancing, all superannuation funds, and all insurers. Like, it's just taking months to get back to you. And so when you're getting in there into the nuts and bolts of it, and you start asking questions going, hey, this is stupid. A couple of years ago, this would take 48 hours, maybe 5 business days if it goes into a queue because you're all busy. What's the real reason? And there'll be a variety of answers that'll come out of that. Mostly though, is a combination, a perfect storm of of the destruction of Australian businesses. So one of them is like, hey, I'm not sure. People are working from home. I've tried to get that file owner. She's working from home. She hasn't responded. I don't know, we'll leave a message and she'll get back to you. 3 weeks later, she might get back to you. So a combination of people working at home and productivity is down. I don't believe anyone who says productivity is up when you're working at home. It is down. You miss being in a hub. You don't talk to your colleagues. You can't quickly find answers that you don't know answers to by walking down the hall or standing at the water cooler getting the answer to your project. So there's that, but also the federal government has decided to, but also the federal government's encouraging people to work from home and kind of shaming employers who won't let them work from home, which basically destroys their inner cities. But then the government's gonna, if you have a positive COVID on a rat test, which can be a false positive lots of times, or even though you're not sick, there's something in your system that says that you've got this respiratory illness, then you're forced to stay at home for 7 days. Now the government will pay you, which excites a lot of people who want to stay at home for 7 days. They get $750, and so government is incentivizing workers not to go to work. Because whenever you want something, and this is how taxes and subsidies work in our democracy or any democracies, whenever you want to encourage some sort of behaviour, you incentivize it with money in the system. That's how our system works. Whenever you want to discourage something, you tax it, or you make a fine, or you make a levy. So our government's encouraging workers from these big companies, or big companies and small companies, but you can imagine the big companies get hit the worst, to go home. Stay at home, don't work. So that's why it takes 2 months to find out for Macquarie to tell me where my transaction came from. With all of our computer systems, it would be on a ledger. It'd be on a ledger somewhere. You could find it in 60 seconds. So what's crazy to feel about this is that the destruction of our workforce and companies, actually, guys, this is not good. So where have we been so far? Thailand, London, and now we're in Mexico. These other countries aren't playing this game. They're not playing this game that Australia's playing. It is crazy. It is self-destructive. We are in big, big trouble. Now, what does that mean for the Australian stock market? Some companies are going to have a real hard time delivering proper profits when they can't even stabilise their workforce, because the government is incentivising people to, race out and get tested, on purpose. Feel a bit crook, yep, cool. Yes, oh, beauty. I've come up a positive for COVID. I get to stay home and get paid, for a whole week and play PlayStation or watch Netflix. It's some bad signs, for all the bad signs that are in the economy already, with inputs coming in and being so expensive, causing inflation and all those problems, and that'll cause a reduction in the amount of goods and services people will want to buy. That's actually what the government wants. So the government wants companies to be selling less product. They want people to be spending less on goods and services. If you listen to it, that's what it is. So there's potentially some of the Australian companies are going to have a hard time on the stock market. Their profitability could be down. But comparatively, it doesn't have to be that way. I'm not seeing any of this sort of behaviour in other countries and other parts of the world. They moved on from COVID a long time ago. This is a false narrative that the government is stuck with. They can't find an off-ramp, unfortunately. Somebody needs to give them an off-ramp. I thought war in Ukraine and some stuff would be an off-ramp, but no, they can't get off, and also they might just bloody have a second on-ramp with monkeypox if we let them. So anyway, guys, look, I am concerned about some things that are happening that that are in the short term, medium term, and long term for some of the Australian companies to be competitive. Look, every time the government says that you got to pay your employee more for time off, that's anti-competitive. If you're a large company, you can probably handle that. If you're a small company, you can't pay someone an extra 2 weeks for domestic violence leave, something that is out of your control, something that's not your fault. I'm hoping that isn't the case, but even if it's the taxpayer, somebody's still paying. Now, domestic violence is disgusting, it's horrible, but I don't understand. I don't understand how all these things are going to flow through the system, who pays, who picks up the bill, and what they actually mean for productivity as well. So, look, there's some large concerns coming through the system which will affect our stock market. And there'll be some companies that just will never perform correctly ever again. These are my concerns. We all seem to be happy to let it happen. So anyway, guys, just thought I'd have a little whinge about what's going on with my transaction. However, this it makes me very uneasy about some of the things that could be happening in our country, because our country is competing against other countries. You know, the world is a competition. We seem to have forgotten. So, all right, guys, I will talk to you soon.